Welcome to the Bold Podcast. I'm Todd Burge, keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and mental fitness coach. I'm here to help you unlock your leadership potential and ignite your personal growth. On the Bold, my guests and I will dive into inspiring stories of transformation, showing how small mindset shifts can lead to life-changing benefits. We'll explore strategies for overcoming challenges, building high-performance habits, and leading with confidence. If you're ready to embrace a growth mindset and unlock your full potential, then let's ignite your spark today. My guest today is the amazing Kemp Boyd, a devoted family man, community leader, and passionate mentor. He serves as the executive director of Love Akron, co-pastor at Garden City Church, and head football coach at Garfield High School. With a background in business leadership, mental health advocacy, and extensive community service, Kemp is dedicated to empowering others, building meaningful relationships, and inspiring change across Greater Akron. Listeners, get ready to be inspired. Kemp, welcome to the Bolt Podcast, my brother.
My man, thank you, brother. Appreciate the invitation,
Yes.
man. Love it, love it, love it.
Love it.
Yeah,
love Akron.
Man. Absolutely.
Yeah,
man.
it's just like we're at breakfast.
That's
love
right.
love our breakfast meetings. Always
Yeah.
some great insight and just fellowship. So yeah, you're one of my favorite people, man.
Oh, brother, same, man. And kudos to you, man, for your success, brother. And, I know we kind of talked about this, but like, man, just you stepping out, man. We've always talked about our speaking and how important that was for us to kind of launch out, man. So just super proud of you too, brother, man. The bold and the success of the podcast and just the personal and professional success that you have, man. Super proud of you, bro.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man.
And the one thing is, you said success. It's really just finding happiness.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
absolutely.
success is just a byproduct.
Yeah.
If it happens, it happens. I grew up, you do good work, you put the work in,
Yeah.
you treat people, the golden rule.
Absolutely.
It's not that hard.
No,
You
it's not.
know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and I say that, and I know there's barriers, right? But if you do the work,
Yeah,
good things will come.
absolutely.
So, it took me 50 years, Kemp, to find like true bliss,
Yeah.
true happiness. And I got there.
Amen.
And sometimes I like to say, man, it took me so long. I lost a lot of time, but I have to go back and say, at least I got there.
That's
How
right.
many people never get there?
That's
you
right.
know? So anyhow, man, I'm ready to, let's just talk. We can talk for a long time.
Absolutely.
We try to keep
We
it to
can
60
go.
minutes,
Yeah,
but
man, we can go for sure.
So we met through Leadership Akron, beautiful community of people.
Yeah.
In fact, I was at an event last night. It was wonderful. I know you couldn't make it, but you were on the screen.
Hey.
The mention of being honored with the Distinguished Award for Mr. Maynard, the late Maynard, Phil Maynard, wonderful guy. Actually went to high school with his daughter.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we graduated together.
That's awesome.
And her husband, TK. Beautiful family.
Yeah.
I got to know him a little bit, not as much as I would like, but I always see him at AFR, though.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Holding court.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So, yes, we met through Leadership Akron, and we just immediately connected.
Yeah.
It was just like one of those things. You meet somebody, every now and then you're just like, I need that person in my life. If there's a meaningful connection. I know you talk a lot about meaningful relationships.
Absolutely.
And I'm a strong believer in that as well.
Yes.
So, and our show is focused on, and you said it in your bio, inspiring change, transformation. We all have a story to tell, right? And every story matters. And I love to hear when people can get a little vulnerable, and humble and share what they've been through and how they got to where they're at, and the show's about sharing those stories and inspiring people, people to hopefully, step up, get unstuck, whatever it is, and make some change and really just be the best person they can be for themselves. Because when you do that, then you can serve, then you can really go out. But you can't do that until you really are whole and happy with who you are, right?
Oh, without a doubt, man. Like,
Right.
Brene Brown talks a lot about vulnerability, right? And the true definition of that, right? It's like when we are unafraid to be the best version of ourselves while not being concerned about what the outcome's going to be.
Right.
And to your point about being liberated and finding this bliss and finding this freedom, Todd, I think that's what I've just been discovering, man. Like so many times we get into these spaces to where I feel like we're wanting to project a certain thing in a certain way about ourselves, and then once we leave, we're so concerned about the perceptions of others about us that we don't allow ourselves to enjoy the moment.
Right.
Right. And I feel like in what Brene Brown was saying was just that, like, hey man, just be the best version of yourself and not even be concerned about the outcome. If people liked it, they didn't like it, like, but are you liking it? Are you okay with what you presented? And I think, man, I've gotten comfortable in my own skin of who Kemp is and what Kemp is about, and really leading from that direction. First of all, in my home, in my marriage, with my kids, and then it's kind of all the other things. So I think it's really about getting in touch with your being and not being so focused on what you're doing. And I think in our society, we often have that backwards. We live and we abide so much in a doing culture, which is high productivity, high accomplishment, high achievement, right? I like to say it's the what. And really, I think our first priority is being more concerned with the who. Who am I? Who am I representing? And how is that going to drive my what? And so but that's more of the being culture. And the being culture is in the being culture, we want all those accomplishments and achievements, but there's more of a priority on relational, right? It's being in touch with our beings. And I think that's what made us really connect. Like there was something in your being that I could connect to. That was almost like a kindred spirit. It's like, oh my gosh, like I want to know more about Todd. What Todd does is great, but I want to know more about how you're doing right now, Todd. What is the best version of you and what you were called to do? Why? Because it was birthed from your being. And so many times we get so caught up in, hey, I need to go and do this thing because that's what's going to bring me happiness. But our good friend and brother Justin Hilden taught me, he said, hey, Kemp, happiness is based on what's happening. Right? So happiness is more circumstantial. And really what we're all searching for is joy. But I think we find joy in our being when we are being the best version of ourselves without being concerned of the outcome. Yeah.
Amen. Yeah. We just stop right there. That was, oh my gosh. You've given us a sermon already.
Oh, man. Come on,
Pastor Kemp. Wow. So actually I absolutely agree. And I love that. Gosh, where to go from there. But I guess maybe let's talk a little bit about you. So you do so many different things, right? And one, I think a lot of people, and I always ask people that are extremely, I don't want to say the word busy, but just really productive, right? Yeah. You sit on many boards and won't go into some highly involved in. Yeah. You're a pastor. You're a coach, a high school football coach, and you're executive director of Love Akron. Yeah. And you have 6 kids.
Yeah, man.
In the family. And married 20 years.
20 years of marriage, man.
So you got a lot going on,
man,
brother.
Yeah, so much happening.
Give us any tips to how do you keep the balance? That's a lot of people to really, and you're a very time, you want to give that time to everybody, right? And really make that connection. And that takes time is where I was going. So how do you do that?
Well, I think, everything starts with the type of people that you bring around you. And for me, that starts with Stacy, man. She is truly my best friend, and we've been married. We celebrated this year 20 years of marriage, and she is really the one that makes all kind of this stuff go around. Her and my faith in the Lord. It's funny when people see me and they say, man, how do you do all these different things? Blah, blah, blah. Because you just seem so busy. And I'm glad you used the word productive, because that's what I said. I said, well, hopefully I'm more productive than busy.
Right.
But a lot of these things, Todd, like Stacy has been the one to push me out of that boat, man, to be honest with you. She's been the one that says, hey, man, why wouldn't you do that? Hey, this looks like you, so you should go and do that. Hey, how do you know the Lord isn't calling you into that? And so she's been really the one that has helped to give me the courage to really step out. I said this to a group of people that we were with last Friday. I said, the thing about Stacy, the biggest thing that she does for me every day is she gives me the courage to be the best version of myself, without any judgment, but she just speaks into me really well. But I think too, all those things that you mentioned, Todd, they're very interconnected, right? So it's not like it's a thing where, hey man, you're working third shift over here and you're doing this. Like, because I'm the executive director of Love Akron, it really helps me to be a better pastor. Because I'm a pastor, it helps me to be a better head football coach. Because I'm a head football coach, it helps me to be a better, if you will, community or city leader, right? Because those young men are giving me their perspective of what it looks like from a standpoint of the violence that they see or that they hear about, the educational system. So I get really the boots on the ground feedback that I need that helps me to advocate for them, right? And how do I leverage the influence that I have in the city on behalf of those young men, on behalf of Love Akron, but also then on behalf of being a pastor, to where when you're shepherding a group of people in a church, they often want to know, hey man, what's going on and how can I get involved? Now I have some of, if you will, the information for that to happen. But really, Todd, everything I do just comes down to one word that I just mentioned, man. You're just shepherding people. You know what I mean? And I want to make sure that I'm doing that well and I'm being faithful in it, but also just want to make sure that I'm producing some fruit too. And that fruit remains not from my account, but I think for God and what he's calling me in to do, man, because it is a heavy load of responsibility, but I believe too, it's worth every pound, right? Like, none of these things that I'm doing is, it's stressful. Does it keep me up at night? Yeah, because I have a concern. But there's an intentionality that I have with Stacy to where, man, we take a date night every week. We connect and get together.
I love that.
I'm constantly checking in with my children. We knew very early on, and we talked to them because Dad does coach ball, that, hey, I'm not going to make every recital. And now that my son is playing football, like I don't make all of his games, right? But these are conversations that we had very early on as we start having kids, because since me and Stacey's been married, I've always coached ball. So we know from June to November, December, it's going to be, we're going to be kind of like ships passing through. So there's an intentionality that I have to even to date my children to where, hey, I need to take them out. Whether it's for lunch or for breakfast or for dinner, hey, we're going to sit down and watch this movie. But now that my older kids, so our kids range from 19 to 7, right? So my 19-year-old, we have a set of 16-year-old twins. They don't really need me as much, right? Matter of fact, if I tell them to come spend some time with me, they're like, what you want, man? Like, what's going on, right?
Yep.
But still, it's taking the time of when you walk in and say, hey, how was school today? Oh, it was good. Hey, tell me why you're telling me it's good. Help me understand what good means to you.
Right.
And it's just being very intentional about it. But also, I think communication helps. But then also having a partner at home that understands the framework of who you are, that can also communicate that to your children is so important. So it's about being intentional, man, with the time. And so if there's anybody that's going to sacrifice their time, it's going to be me. But it's not going to be my wife, Stacy, or our kids. And so if that means I got to get up early to go work out, which I do, and if that means I got to stay up a little bit later just to make sure they're okay, then I'll do that as well. So it's being intentional, man, with everything. Hey, do I fail at it? Absolutely. I'm not perfect.
Right.
But the one thing that when I feel like I'm not perfect or I haven't handled something right is I want to go back and communicate it with those people, whether it's Stacy, our kids, whether it's our team at Love Akron, whether it's the players that I coach, whether it's in pastoring. I want to communicate with people when I did fall short. I missed the mark, if you will, because I found that people have appreciated that too.
Right. Missed the mark.
That's right. That's right. Come on.
You've definitely made your mark here in town, for sure. Yeah, I love that. I love it. You do. You have to be intentional. One thing that I would be interested to know, because I've struggled with this, you become a leader in the community and you have a huge network and you're very resourceful and people come out, right?
Yeah.
And want to tap in. And that's great,
Yeah.
right? We want to help as many people as we
Absolutely.
can.
Absolutely.
But there comes a point where you have to be able to set some barriers, right?
Yeah.
And say, I just can't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe not now, but maybe later.
Absolutely.
So how do you handle, because I'm sure you're getting hit up, hey, Kemp, can you be on our board? Can you help with this fundraising event? All these different things, right? Because you are so well connected and you do have those boots on the ground.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with, you struggle with saying
Yeah.
no? Or?
Yeah. It's hard, man, to tell people no, because you understand why they're coming and asking you. And you realize, when I say this, I don't mean this from a place of vanity, but you do realize, as you have, Todd, like that you have some influence, right? And so now it's about, okay, can I leverage my influence for this particular person? Because all of us want to. And so I think the thing, Todd, that I've tried to do is try to filter things as much as possible. Because when people come and ask you to be a part of something, obviously they're asking because it's like, oh man, I may see you everywhere, or hey, your name, or people talk so well and highly of you. And so I try to ask people questions like, what is that you need from me? Or what is that you think you need from me? And so I listen. And through listening, what I find is that really what you need from me is this. You really don't need all of this. So, hey, I'll agree to do this. And maybe what they really need from me is just to be a point of contact, or be one that connect them to the next stage of what they're looking to do. Which I love being a connector. I love convening people. I love when I can get people together to collaborate to make a collective impact, right, across Greater Akron. And I think what I'm able to help people to discover is that you really only need me for this segment of what you're trying to do. And then they're like, oh yeah, this is really all I need from you. So you have to be able to listen to filter down what people are actually asking you. Because they may not need all of that from you, even though it feels like that at first. Then you can say, oh man, you really only need me for this aspect of it. Hey man, I can do that 100%. But I can connect you with the person that can give you these other 3 things that you may need, that you think you need me for, but you really actually don't. And so, again, I think it just goes back to intentionally, first of all, just listening. And then as you listen, getting the right questions to ask people, which I don't think we do that well in our society. I think we really are focused on telling people things, and we don't listen to understand in order to ask the questions that need to be asked to help people to discover what it is that you really are actually looking for or asking for. And so that's what I attempt to do. But even through all that, sometimes you do have to say no.
Yeah.
Or you say, hey, you know what? I think I can give you somebody that may be better for that, because their capacity is more open than mine is. Not that I'm too good for it, but from a capacity build perspective, you're going to need somebody that can run with you. And so we talked about Robert Ford, who's a good brother of both of ours, man, who's doing really tremendous things across Greater Akron. I can remember when he asked me to be a part of his board. Yeah. And I said, you know what, Robert, I'm going to be involved and I'm being a supporter, but I can give you somebody who's probably going to be a better board member than what I can be, and that was Lori Porter. Come on now.
Dynamite.
Yes, absolutely right.
I mean, she's special.
And Lori has been great for him, but also that experience has been great for Lori. So you make that connection between people. And here's what it hasn't done. I think it's strengthened me and Robert's relationship. You know what I mean? Because Robert's like, hey, man, Kim, thanks so much. And whatever I can do for Robert, I do it because, man, we both love Robert. But it's like, hey, my best use for you might not be being your board member, but it's connecting you to the person that has the capacity to probably do it at the level that you need them to do it. And I may not be the person for that, right? But you just help people to discover that, because you can discover it along with them.
Yeah. I love that. I think there's a lesson, a really great lesson in what you just said, Kemp, and that is it's time. It's not a hard no, but it's being curious enough, right, to know the story, to ask the questions.
Absolutely.
To listen, and then still help. It might not be the original ask.
Yes.
But you have to take that time and be curious enough to just say, right?
Absolutely.
What do you really need?
Absolutely.
I can help you, but I may not be able to give you everything that you thought you needed. And I love that. And I try to do the same. And even with prospects, we get with my marketing business, a lot of small businesses, or maybe a nonprofit that just doesn't have the budget, or it's just not the right fit. But instead of a sorry, no, we're not
Yeah.
going to take this call. Like, but here are 3 people I think might be able
Absolutely.
to serve you.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way, right? That's karma. And who knows, maybe their budget situation changes 5-10 years.
That's
And
right.
they say, I remember that Evolve company that,
Yeah.
helped me out at the time when I needed it and
Yeah.
just didn't. So it's, I don't know if that's the go-giver way, Bob Berg, the book, or just being good people, right?
Yeah.
But anyhow, I think it's important because we do need to set barriers, right? We only have so much time in a
Exactly.
given day, and we can only help so many people, but we still they're reaching out to us. So
Yeah.
we need to be respectful, right, of
Absolutely.
that. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. And I think, Todd, it goes back to something you just said, man. I think it's about meeting people where they are. So many times we'll just turn people away, and we haven't really met people where they are in order to listen and to be curious. And then once we tap into that curiosity, it's like, oh, okay, here's the next best thing. And like you said, I think it's just about being good humans and just loving people, man. Like let's just love people. I may not be the person, but man, what I can do is help you connect you with the person or the organization that's probably going to do a little bit better job than what I could do or what we could do at Love Akron. And so I think you just learned that, man. But I think, Todd, it's getting out of the competitive nature or spirit that we have in our society, right? We're so big on competing. We're so big on building our brands. But I think, man, when we get more consumed with the who and not the what, our brand kind of builds itself based on our character, our integrity, right? And our experiences that we're able to have with people.
Yeah. Oh, I wholeheartely agree. And I think that takes some time.
Yeah.
Age. Right?
Yeah, brother. You got to learn that.
That takes some time and wisdom to know what's really important in life, right? You come out, I don't know, you can read the books, you can take the classes, unless you have a really good parent or mentor, right? That's instructing you, guiding you, giving you those lessons.
That what they call that experiential learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
But still, I think you need to cut your teeth.
Yeah,
you need to get out
absolutely.
there and just get some years under your belt, right?
Come on now.
But and not all people even get there
Yeah.
after the years, right? They're still
Absolutely.
competing. And being a football coach, that's probably hard for you to be able to shut that, right? Because you are competing.
Yes.
And interesting, I never really thought about the time, but that's 6 months, you said. You know, 6
man.
months you pass them by, right?
Yeah, man.
And I want to go back to all that for a minute because it's really important to have a great foundation at home.
Yeah.
If you don't have a great foundation, you would not be able to do the things you're doing. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
I could not. So having a really good foundation, a partner who's all in, who understands, appreciates, and supports, lifts you up, and pushes you out
Absolutely.
into your discomfort zone, right? To say, yeah, I think you should try that.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, really important and blessed that that I have that in my life, and, and obviously you, because now you're able to do all these things and really help our community. And I was talking to Justin last night, actually, Justin Hilton, about you, and I said, yeah, Kemp's going to be in tomorrow. And I actually invited Justin's going to be on the show.
That's awesome. That's going to be a good time.
Yeah,
man.
right.
That's.
I'm just going to have to,
brother. You gonna have to make that a 2-hour.
That's
block.
why. That's why I said to myself, "Oh boy, I'm going to have to,
be careful what you ask
whatever.
for, brother.
Cut. Let me in. Let me get him."
Yeah.
But no, he's just got so much wisdom. But what we were talking about was, I said, what I really there's so many things I love about you, Kemp. But what's kind of fascinating to me is that your roots, like you weren't born in this town, right? You didn't grow up in this town. You came here from Tennessee, right? Georgia, down south, and then, but you would never know that. You've made so much change in our community, and you've treated it like your own. I don't know, I told Justin, I said, I don't know if I could do that. Yeah. To go into another town and just start over and be so in love with the town. Yeah. And he said, I think you could. So I've been thinking about that. I don't know, but it's something that does fascinate me. That how did you do that? Did you have some struggles? What brought you here? I mean, we don't need to go into the whole thing. We have a lot to talk about, but I don't know. It's a fascinating thing to me.
Yeah, man. I came to Akron in 1994 to attend the University of Akron, and I graduated from Willard High School. Went there my junior and senior year. Rural high school. I was the only black in my graduating class. Which
the only one.
The only one, which is experience in and of itself that I think helped to strengthen me.
Wow.
But also, man, it taught me a lot about things. And so when I came up here, man, I didn't like Akron at all, man. It's funny, man. I hated Akron. Now I'm loving Akron, right? But that's a whole nother story. But I did because my parents moved back down south. My dad didn't like the winters. And so I was literally up here by myself having to discover, who I was in this place and in this space with no friends, no family. I'm here. And so made a lot of, bad decisions, bad choices, fell on my face a lot. Like you said, I had to cut my teeth on some things. But I think, what Akron has given to me, and I tell this to people all the time, I found my life, I found my wife and my calling in Akron. And so because of that, yeah. And because of that, man, I feel like, and I don't mean this in the way that it sounds, but I feel like that I owe Akron. And so that's why I give and I love it the way that I do now because, hey, man, I was, 17, 18-year-old kid who came here just trying to kind of find his way. And in all that, I think Akron found me, you know what I mean? And has allowed me to grow into the man that I am now. But Akron fathered me, if you will, and mothered me, if you will, and was patient with me and allowed me to make some mistakes, to kind of, have some cuts and some wounds. But in those cuts and wounds, what I found is that, man, I found a place to where I've kind of developed into this man and found a sense of belonging. That has now resulted into this calling, man. So I haven't really thought about it the way you said it, to where, man, like I've given essentially my life, if you will, to the city, man. I haven't really thought about that, man. So I appreciate you giving me that kind of perspective and allowing me to think about it. But yeah, man, that's been something that I've been very proud that I've been able to do and able to kind of integrate myself into.
We'll be right back after this short message. Hey, it's Todd again. Did you know that mental fitness is the secret weapon for transformational leadership? Your mind may be sabotaging you, leading you down a path of stress and negativity, but it doesn't have to be this way. If you're ready to unlock the resilience to empower yourself and the team you lead, listen up. Through the Positive Intelligence Program, PQ for short, I help leaders build mental strength, manage stress, and increase emotional intelligence. Imagine reducing burnout, improving your relationships, and increasing performance, all backed by neuroscience. Look, I'm living proof of its power, having rewired my brain after building my mental fitness with PQ over the last 5 years. Are you ready to build yours? Visit toddbirch.com for more information, and let's get a free consultation scheduled today. Now back to the show. So Kemp, we talk about you as a pastor and a coach, football coach. I want to talk about that for a minute because I know I can tell, like, you love all these things.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're passionate about them, but the coaching and the mentoring, right? That's personal.
Oh,
That's
no doubt.
That's at your core.
Yes.
Right. And I've watched a couple of interviews with you online, and just through conversations you and I having breakfast. Let's talk about how important mentoring is and what your role is as a coach, because I think that's changed, right?
Yeah.
As the years have progressed from being maybe more transactional at the beginning to now being a father figure. And we know, unfortunately, the data's there, right? In the Black community in particular, there's not a lot of male role models.
Absolutely.
Which is really unfortunate. But the data's there, so at least we know, right? The one thing is to understand, be educated about where the gaps are and how can we bridge that. And
Absolutely.
I think you're a huge bridge, right?
Yeah.
If we see any metaphor, visual here, it's Kemp Boyd as this bridge to these young men who are experiencing some difficult times, food, clothing, basic necessities, right? Which Robert Ford is helping out with. But also a father figure, right?
Absolutely.
So let's just talk a little bit about what it's like to be a coach, how important it is, the responsibility, and and how you handle those situations with those young men.
Yeah, and go back to this term about being a bridge builder. Bishop Joey Johnson, he taught me this very early. He says, "Hey Kim, man, understand, man, by being a bridge builder, you're going to get walked on by both sides, right?" And,
I never quite. Sorry, I just had to.
Oh man, yeah, man, that's powerful, right?
Bishop Joey, he's
man,
he's a great dude.
And he said, and what I've discovered, even in that statement, what I discovered is the beauty of being walked on by both sides is hopefully you're walking them, they're able to walk towards one another. Right? So if that is being walked on both sides leads them to each other, then great. Right? Because the sides need to be able to talk, not from a standpoint of agreement, but from the standpoint of alignment. Because there's things that we align on as people that we might not agree with each other with. Right? And so I think even when it comes to coaching, you got these young men who are coming from different backgrounds, but also the same, and different experiences, but also the same. And so when you start to build a team and a program, they're not always going to agree on everything. But what are we aligning to? Well, we're going to align to say, hey, man, we're going to represent our high school really well, right? But also in trying to do that, we want to be able to compete at a high level. We talk about EAT. EAT is our acronym, which means, effort, attitude, and toughness. And so when we talk about toughness, we don't talk about physical toughness. We talk about mental toughness, right? And what that looks like. But also we want to do it with a great attitude, right? And we want to give really great effort that leads to really good execution. And so we say EAT equals elite, right? If we can eat well, then that's going to produce us being elite individuals, not just elite athletes, not just elite football players, but elite individuals in our home, in our community, in the classroom, in our school community. But two, you got to have really good people around you to do this well. So you have to have, I believe, coaches around you that share in that same type of vision, because to your point, man, the way that I was coached is a lot different than how I coach, right?
Yeah, and times have changed.
Oh, brother, it was a lot of, I remember coming in being a coach, man, and, I was a yeller, a cusser, and a fusser, right? Because that's how I was done. That's what we see on TV. It's a lot of that type of thing.
Right, right.
And what you start to realize, man, because these young men have so much emotional residue of hurt and of pain, and they have wounds that they haven't been able to name, right? And so I was reading a caption that somebody said in a quote that said, it was a podcast I was listening to, and they said, hey, man, a wound that you cannot name cannot be healed. And so it's been about teaching these young men to not run away from their wounds, but really being able to acknowledge the wounding that they have, and then let's name it. Is it the wound
label
of, is it the wound of, hey man, my father left me? Is it the wound of maybe it's not that my father left me, but maybe my father never really validated me? Because as men, especially as young men, we need to be validated. Because if we're not validated, especially younger, then we go and seek validation in things, right? Which then produces a false masculinity that we have. So I grew up in a realm of false masculinity. I have a really great relationship with my father now, but I can remember growing up, I viewed being a man as performance driven. Manhood was about how you performed in the bedroom, right? Because we got to perform there, because that produces masculinity. It was how I performed on the athletic field, because I wanted to be this baller. But then it was also how I performed in my wallet. How much money did I have? And so even now, those same things, unless they're acknowledged and unless they're talked about, well, it only gets deeper as we grow up. Because now it's like, hey, did I get that promotion? Did I get that bid on that job, right? Am I selling well? Am I meeting all these marks, right? Because we live in a very performance-based society. And so with a lot of these young men, if you're not winning, if I'm not performing, then who am I? And so we really get an opportunity to really speak into their being, going back to that concept, and being more concerned about the who, right, and not the what. Like, that's actually something that we teach our players. Like, hey, man, let's be more concerned about who we are and whose we are versus the what of the scoreboard, what people are saying about us, and what offers we may have. If we can tap into the who, the what will take care of itself. And that's what we get the opportunity, I think, at Garfield High School, myself along with my coaches, because I can't do this without a good group of men and women around me. I have a woman coach, right, on my staff, because I think we need that, right? I think we need that a lot, right? Because she's going to have a different perspective than us as men have, that she needs to be able to speak to us, but also we're able to speak to her from a standpoint of masculinity. You know what I mean? And so we're really able to tap in, and I think that goes into the mental health component, right? When you have this emotional residue, right, mental health plays a strong role in some of this stuff, man. In how I see myself, we all get a little anxious. That may or may not lead to us being a little bit depressed. And so I need to be aware of what are the signs and symptoms of a mental health challenge. And so this is not just about me being a head football coach, but this is about me leveraging my experiential learning as being a mental health first aid instructor to say, how do I bring this now to my young men, and how do I bring this to my coaches, that they have more tools for their toolbox, so that way, hey, if a kid blows up, hey, understand, it may not be about you. It may be about something that happened last night at home. And so let's ask our young men, hey, man, you know, I'll just randomly go around and say, hey, man, what'd you have for dinner last night? Oh, man, coach, I had chicken, spaghetti. You know, I go ask another kid, it's like, oh, coach, man, I really didn't have anything. Well, why not? He's like, oh, I really wasn't hungry. And then it leads to more of a question of, hey, man, you know, if you need something, let us know. 2 days later, man, young man might text and say, hey, coach, man, we ain't got any food in our house. And so then that's when I go and call my coaches, or I go call Coach Stephanie and say, hey, let's reach out to this mom, right? And I don't always need to be the head coach or the man reaching out to a single mom, because I don't want anybody to feel bad or to feel judged.
Sure, yeah, that's it.
And so she becomes that connector to say, hey, if there's anything that you need, just let us know. And so whether it's us going out and buying groceries, whether it's us going out and getting a gift card, that's what it's about. Because it's not that a player may be underperforming because they want to, but man, they don't have the basic needs of, man, I just didn't eat, so I'm tired.
Going back to eat, like literally eat,
exactly.
Before you can get to your EAT acronym.
Yeah.
Right. That's interesting, and I can picture this bridge that we talked about where there's both sides, but I see spokes coming off the bridge, right? And there's other bridges. You're bringing in the people to help you facilitate and help these kids.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. And what is a certified mental health first aid instructor? What's involved without all the details?
Yeah.
Just what I was curious. I'd never heard that before, but it seems like something that every coach, it should be a requirement maybe, or even teachers. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's what, we're really trying to do at Love Akron, is saying, like, there was a time when there was a physical doctor who thought it was crazy that you teach lay people first aid and CPR. It's like, oh man, you can never do that. You can't teach an ordinary person, so to speak, first aid and CPR. And now everybody's certified in first aid and CPR. And so our goal is, how do we do that when it comes to mental health first aid? Because everybody should be aware about the signs and the symptoms of a mental health challenge that any one of us could be having. Nobody is oblivious to this. Nobody is, we all fall into this. And so our good friend, Megan Clyden, who is the CEO and president over at Red Oak Behavioral Health, when she first came, she saw something in me to say, hey, Kemp, I think you would be great at this. So she ended up sending myself and someone away to go get this type of training.
Okay.
And I just fell in love with it, man. And I brought that to Love Akron, to where I'm, if you will, triple certified to be a youth mental health instructor, which is teaching adults who work with young people in the signs and the symptoms of a mental health challenge. I'm certified also to instruct adults who work with other adults. So if you're an HR professional, we teach this to businesses, nonprofits, to say, hey, what does it look like when you're working with another adult that is going through some things? This was really prevalent when COVID happened and people were coming back to work. We had, organizations reach out to us, say, hey, can you talk to our HR professionals? Because now that we have people coming back into work, well, it was almost like, hey, man, this was new. I'd been living in this isolation. Now I'm coming back into the workspace. And something that Akron Public Schools have been leading with Yvonne Culver is I just got trained to be an instructor in teen mental health first aid. So how do we help teens to work with their peers when it comes to recognizing signs and symptoms, to know where their own peers become those gatekeepers? And so,
interesting.
Joe Vasilati, who is over our athletics for Akron Public Schools, we have worked together and talked to each other about, how do we get our coaches trained in mental health first aid? And so those are initiatives that are in the works and that being talked about. But I know it's helped me not only as a coach, but it's helped me as a father, right?
Right.
We've had some challenges in our family just over the past 6-7 years where we've had, an unexpected death of a very close relative, and they were really close to my children. And so there's one thing to exercise a lot of these tools externally, but then when you have to use these tools internally with your own family, and you have to ask one of your own children, hey, have you thought about hurting yourself? Have you contemplated suicide? That's a really hard question to ask. And if you've never asked that question, it takes some courage to ask it. But honestly, what we learn is, in being able to ask that question becomes a deterrent. Because a lot of times people are waiting for someone to ask them that question. But a lot of times we don't, because the stigma that we have towards it, or the fear that we have in order, if I do ask that question, maybe I'm planting a seed and really you're not. It actually serves as a deterrent for the person. And so those are the things that we're able in our trainings to help people to understand, but also to help people to ask that question out loud. Because sometimes when you ask it, the immediate response is like, man, that was really hard for me to ask. But at the same time, that is the bridge, if you will, that we have to cross in order to help save a life.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the suicide rates are great. Well, yeah, we've talked
in
about,
our county,
especially
it's tough,
especially in certain zip codes.
Absolutely, man.
Again, that data is,
and especially with men. Think about that.
Yeah,
like we're not losing men right now in our community just because of violent crime, but sometimes it's because of death by suicide.
Right.
And so why is this happening? And so we got to be able to have these conversations, I think, openly and honestly, in order to serve as a deterrent, man, because people are hurting, man. There's a lot of pain and hurt that is going on and happening that we are just trying to cope with, whether it's through alcohol, drugs, whether it's through sex, right? We're just coping with things instead of really addressing and naming that wound.
Yeah, I love that. It's all about the label, the name, and getting it out there. But it's also, too, about raising your hand.
Absolutely,
and asking
brother.
for help.
I
think, especially as males need help.
Yes.
Right? We've struggled for years, and we've been told or not told to just, get back out there. Good luck, Buttercup. A little pat on the ass.
That's right. Come on, man.
Suck it up,
Yeah.
Buttercup.
You'll be all right.
Duchess
Read all these cliches things that doesn't really name the wound, and it doesn't really get into the pain and hurt, man. It
doesn't do anything except it just puts a facade.
Yeah, that's all it does, right? And pain and hurt that is not transformed gets transmitted. Right? So when we don't understand and know how to transform our pain, then our pain just gets transmitted first to our families, to our loved ones, those around us.
Sure.
And then it gets transmitted when we go into the work site, and into the community and all these different type of things. And so we end up, and this happened to me, man, I've experienced this. We end up leading while we're bleeding. And the danger is, man, we don't want to bleed out.
We talked about that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the title.
That self-care piece is so important,
self-care.
right?
I think there's a lot of things, and I'm sure you'll agree, the educational system, like we need, every school needs a mental health counselor,
Absolutely.
our teachers need to be trained in these things,
Yeah.
need to want it,
Yes.
right? Want to be trained,
Yes.
so that we can lead with empathy,
Yes.
right? Because it all comes down to a mindset, and that's a big part of, my whole shtick and my speaking engagements. And a mindset really is based on all your life circumstances, right? Your entire life from when you were born to the point you're at now. And fortunately or unfortunately, it is based on the people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
Or that have been surrounded by you,
Yeah.
that maybe you didn't choose. But so it's all an influence, your teachers, your mentors, your parents, everybody, and at work, your managers, your direct reports, the leaders, right? So all these people have a direct influence on your mindset. And if they aren't trained, if they aren't in touch with who they are,
That's right.
their being, that's going to have an influence
Yeah.
on you. So I think what I was circling to was the earlier that we can embed, have these conversations,
and intervene into,
and say, it's okay, man.
Yes.
Like, we're all, and I talk about that I talked about this in a corporate training I had last week with a couple companies. So we're all struggling with something.
Man.
Let's just say it. Everyone in this room.
That's right.
Some it's going to be bigger. Some it's going to be smaller.
That's right.
But
it's big to you.
Yeah, right.
It's big to you, and naming that, now we can start to recover. Think about it. We can't really get healed from something physically until we go to the doctor, and the doctor says, hey, you know what? You got COVID. Hey, you know what? You got a cold. Hey, you know what? This is allergies. Hey, you know what? You actually broke your arm. Oh, okay. So, doctor, what do I need? Oh, man, we're going to cast it up. It's going to take about maybe 6 weeks. Then we're going to put you in PT. We do that so well with our physical, but we can't do that with our mental and emotional. So we hide it. We shelter it. We continue to kind of fake it until we make it. But really, once we acknowledge it, it really liberates us to now really deal with it. And I think that's the one thing that we often as people just have a hard and a challenging time with. And so I just want to encourage the listeners out there, if you are looking for maybe some training or instructing in mental health first aid, please just go to our Love Akron website at loveakron.org. And we would love to come in and, train your team, your leaders, because it's so important. And we do this with churches. We do it with nonprofit organizations, for-profit organizations. We've actually did this years ago with Smuckers, with their HR team. They reached out to us and say, hey, can you, because why? It is so vitally important now. Whereas before, I think we just kind of dismiss it as, oh, well, they'll be okay.
Right.
They just need maybe this or that. Like, no, sometimes we need more than that, and we have to tap into it to really discover what it is.
Yeah, I love that. And I didn't know that was a piece of the business. So I'm so glad to learn that and to help, spread that word. And I think it's critical in HR. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, what I've realized recently from Gallup polls is that, so we had COVID, right? And we had that epidemic and all the challenges that came out of that. And now we're in another epidemic with disengaged workers.
Yes.
Upwards of close to 80% globally are disengaged. That's an epidemic.
Yes, it is.
And then that is due to burnout, stress, and high levels of mental health challenges.
Absolutely.
So this needs addressed. This is a topic, that should be at the top of the list.
Absolutely.
That we need to discuss and get to the root cause. And it all starts with just being open enough to have the conversation, bring somebody in, and make the assumption that everybody's struggling with something. We always say don't make assumptions because you look like a what. But I think in this case, let's do it. Because we all are, and most people aren't going to raise their hand and say, I have a problem, I need help. Because there's still a stigma, and that's a whole nother thing. Stigma, mental health, drug addiction, all that is still going on, and people are trying to address that. But mental health is huge, and I'm a mental fitness coach, so that's right there. And it all starts. You say your health, right?
Yeah.
You can go to the doctor. Well, your brain.
That's right.
Has a direct impact on your body, your full physical body, and all the benefits of having a really good positive mindset, better sleep, better, stronger immune system.
Absolutely.
Less inflammation, better happiness. I mean,
All of it helps.
there's hundreds of benefits backed by research,
Yeah.
backed by case studies. We need to take care of our brain, right?
We got to take care of it, man.
So we talk about feeding.
Yep.
We got to be careful.
Feeding the right thoughts, the right emotions, the right things into our gates, right? So we have our eye gate, our ear gate, and our mouth gate. And we have to protect those gates at all costs, right? Because like I said, it's feeding the way we think. It's feeding our thoughts. And I just want to acknowledge you in this, brother, man. You've been a great help to me because as you know, man, you've been a support. Like back last year, October 17th, me and my family went through a very dear tragedy where, man, our house caught fire. And, you know, man, you were somebody that reached out to me and just added some support. But what I'll tell you is, man, that was a liberating thing for me, man, which would sound kind of crazy to people like, oh man, but your house caught fire. But it brought up some things to where it wasn't my first house fire. When I was 12 years old, I was involved in a house fire as well. Suffered 3rd-degree burns on my legs, had 7 different operations, which was skin graft, where they took skin from my thighs, put them on my legs.
What? I didn't know that.
Oh man, brother, it was something, right?
Oh,
and so
my gosh.
when that happened, and I'm watching this now as a husband, as a father, as this adult, it took me back to being that 12-year-old boy. So I'm looking at this through a 12-year-old lens. What I sit here and tell you today, man, that experience has done so much for me because I've had to acknowledge some of my own wounds, which I thought I'd, kind of gotten over, recovered from, grieved, if you will. And I can remember, man, it was such a great outpouring from people like yourself that reached out, man. And I had a bit of shame because I'm like, man, how could I allow this to happen to us and to our family? And I just remember, man, the Spirit of God just really speaking to me and saying, hey, you've done all this loving of Akron. You have to allow Akron to love you back. And that's often hard for us, right? As these hard driving, elite, high D leaders, to be humble enough to allow people to love you when you're so used to being the giver of it. It's like, how do we posture ourselves to now receive it? Because it goes back to your point about the brain and how our brain, while it's a beautiful thing, it can play tricks on us as well, to where we can feel less than because we're receiving. But man, we have to be able to posture ourselves to receive from each other. Right. And in that, there's a liberating and an abiding force that causes us to regain health, which is so just ironic, man. So I just want to thank you, man. Like the times that you've reached out to me and said, hey, man, let's go. Like you don't realize what those times meant for me to your point, from a brain health, a mental health perspective, because brother, we don't often allow ourselves as these type of men that give out so much to just sit down and be able to receive from each other. And so we need that therapy, that love, that care from a brother, from a friend to receive that, man. So just thank you for being that, man, because, you might not have known the whole story, but brother, the role that you played in that season of my life and even the season I'm still in has been so endearing and profound for me.
No, I appreciate that. I really do. And it's interesting. I'll say this. When I heard about it, I said to myself, and I don't know how you'll take this, but I said to myself, if there's anybody that can get through this with ease and flow, it's Kemp Boyd.
Oh, man.
And you know why? Because your faith is so strong, right? And you're such a positive person. It takes me back to one of the core messages, the core philosophies in the mental health fitness program I teach, Positive Intelligence. It's called the SAGE perspective. And in the SAGE perspective, we teach that you can find the gift and the opportunity in every situation.
Come on, brother.
Regardless of how difficult, how challenging, my house burnt down.
Yes.
Don't tell me there's a freaking gift here.
Yeah, come on.
Come on now.
Hey, if you'd have been on the sidewalk that night and told me that, I would have throat kicked you.
Right. Yeah. But when you can pause.
That's right.
When you can pause and reflect and label and be open.
Yeah.
Just be open enough and not be ashamed. There's a gift.
Amen.
And you just talked about it,
Yeah,
right? It
brother.
allowed you to go back and readdress and name that label and dig a little bit deeper, and taught you a lesson about being able to receive. And that's the fifth law in the Go Giver book is, it's all about giving to others. But the fifth law is you have to be able to receive gifts as well.
That's right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And I said, and I wondered too, I've tried to put myself, and that's what I always do is, let me put myself in Kemp's shoes.
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted to send you some money, and I said, would I be ashamed? You know, and that's why I actually reached out to one of your friends, one of your colleagues, and I said, is it okay? Like, would Kemp accept something? I don't want to embarrass him, right? So, and that's how unfortunately, it's how we are as males, because I'm thinking, man, I might be embarrassed too.
We project how we would feel onto other people without realizing it.
So, anyhow.
No, man, I appreciate you.
I didn't know about the first one.
Man. Yeah, I was younger and you know, being silly and
You know, Kemp, we've talked about a little bit. I mean, you have a book here. Yeah. You have you have a couple of TED Talks, a couple of books.
I appreciate it, man.
The Leading Without Bleeding. Yeah. Going back to your being, the who. Yeah. I think that, I don't know, that to me, that's core.
Yes, sir, brother.
That's core there. I'll be curious to see where this takes you. Curious and just excited for you, right? Because I know it's going to have a profound impact on young people, you know, selfishly our community, but I think where you're headed is much more than our little town here.
Man, brother, thank you, man. You've always said that to me, man.
I do.
It's been encouragement.
And I don't just say that. And I wouldn't just say that to anybody and blow smoke. Like, you have that. When I first, I think about speakers, right? So I'm on this speaker track that want to be this keynotes, Tony Robbins, 5, 10, 20,000 people. But when I first heard you speak at one of our leadership background, I said, damn, I mean, I was in the whole conversation, right? I wasn't tired. I wasn't even taking note. Like, you had me in such a good, powerful, engaging speaker, and just authentic. Like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, you had all the key components. And to me, I said, this guy, who is this guy? I need to know this guy. I need to get connected to this guy. But then I see everything else. Like, I don't know. I think we need to get you on a bigger
Thank
platform,
you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Because we need more people like you, like Robert Ford, like Coach JoJo. We need more. How do we replicate that? And I think, you and I both, we just want to help as many people as we can.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And unfortunately, what I've realized, I'm starting to research a book, TED Talk, and I'm really interested in how to get people to want to change. Yeah. And what I'm realizing, Kemp, unfortunately, is it's really inspiration. You can't force a horse to drink the water.
That's right.
So I'll be here as a coach when the student's ready.
Yes.
Right? I'll be there as the teacher, as the coach when they're ready. I can only share my mistakes, my failures, my stories, and hopefully one will resonate with you.
That's right.
And it will inspire you.
Yes.
And the message is timely. People are saying, thank you. I needed this right now. No. One person, it might be, in a crowd of 50, 100, 200 people.
That's right.
But it's all it takes, right?
That's
One
right.
person's mindset shift. It just takes time.
Yeah.
So, but the more that we can get out there, right? The bigger the platform, the more those numbers change.
That's
it
right.
goes from 1 to 5 to 10 people. And then,
absolutely.
Maybe that's going to affect everybody that they serve. So it's that ripple effect, I think, is what we're looking for, right?
Absolutely.
So we just need to continue doing what we're doing, brother.
That's right.
And keeping things aligned, with our own being, our own family, which is really important. And just, I talk about that filter, just making sure that everything I'm doing is aligned with who I am.
That's right.
That's feeding.
That's the key.
Selfishly, it's something I want to do.
Yeah.
That's aligned with everything. And I loved how you said, I don't know how strategic it all was, but coaching, being a pastor and executive director of a nonprofit, they all are tied. There's some overlap, right? So that's the beauty.
Yes, it is.
Bring one into the other, into the next.
That's right.
And it's just, there's that compounding effect, right?
Absolutely.
So anyhow, man, I love this. I love what you're doing. Let's do a couple lightning rounds here.
Okay.
I'm not ready
Love
to
it.
stop.
Love it.
All right. If you could go back, this is a pretty common one.
Yeah.
You can go back, give your younger self one piece of advice. What would it be?
Oh man, I think it would be, man, the importance of really self-care and taking care of yourself, from a mental, emotional state, but also how your physical health plays a role into that. We both get up, we work out, and how much of my physical working out helps my mental health. I don't think I realized it younger, right? I was trying to always find a way to opt out instead of opting in. And so that's probably one of the biggest things I would probably tell my younger self is the importance of the physical health and how it plays a role into my mental, emotional health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Who is a leader you admire and why?
Oh man. Well, I mean,
living or dead?
Yeah. I think, obviously I admire Jesus a lot just because of his selflessness, and what he brought, I think, to a world that really didn't understand him and kind of his call and what he was about. But I think, man, there's been so many people, coaches, teachers throughout my life that I really respect from a leadership perspective, even though they might not be a well-renowned leader, but they were a leader for me at a point in my life when I really needed. My junior year, man, I had an English teacher. It was my high school honors class. And, man, it was the high school I was at in Willard again, the only black in my graduating class, the only really, black in that class. And I remember, man, her name was Mrs. Sands, white woman, glasses, had a blonde bob. And I remember she pulled me out in the hall one day and she's like, hey, Mr. Boyd, they're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you. And it just changed my whole perspective because I just moved there. So I was trying to get relationships, trying to gain popularity. And so she's seen me doing it from a negative perspective of being this class clown, right? And then when you couple on the fact that I was the only black kid in the class with all these white kids, rural area, she was just like, hey, they're not laughing with you. They're laughing at you. Like, so you can continue to be this clown or you can start kind of being who you are and who you're meant to be. And I remember, man, she moved me to the front of the class. And, man, I ended up getting a B+ in her class. But I've never forgotten that. Mrs. Sands. Couldn't tell you her first name. But she was a direct, straightforward teacher, man, who was a leader for me my junior year of high school that I needed.
Right.
And so, but yeah.
That had a major impact. Funny how just a moment.
Yeah, man.
One conversation could have. That's how, again, going back to the influencers in your life, right?
Yes.
Everybody has this impact on you. Teachers are so important. Coaches, I mean, they're boots on the ground.
Absolutely.
What's one word that defines your leadership style?
It's actually an acronym.
Okay. That's several words. Well,
I know. I'm sorry,
allow it.
man, but it can be summed up in the word hot.
Okay.
Humble, open, and transparent. That's my leadership style. Hot. I'm hot, brother.
You are hot.
I look hot. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, but humble, open, and transparent.
Okay.
Hot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never heard that one, but I love it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to end with this. What's the most important lesson you've learned in life? I know there's a lot. It's probably a tough one.
Probably one of the most important lessons I've learned is that it's not about you, but it is. Yeah. I think marriage has taught me that. I think having children have taught me that. And I think being a leader has taught me that like, it's not about me, but it is about me, right? It's not about me in the sense of the accolades and the fame and the notoriety, but it is about how I show up for those people. And so that's something that I say to people. I say to my players, I say to people that I'm apprenticing or mentoring or discipling is that, yeah, man, it's not about you, but it is, right? It's not about you in the sense of all the rewards, but it is about how you show up in this space. That's the biggest thing that I think I've learned.
All right. Well, if you could leave us with one last word.
Oh, man.
Thoughts, advice, quotes.
Oh, man, quotes. Hold on now. Hold on. Because there's a couple, man, that have hit me.
Okay. Take us home, Kemp.
Oh, man. This was said, man. There's a men's group that I get to help lead on Wednesday morning. And a brother was talking about him and his wife being empty nesters and just, that emotional toll of that. He said this, man. I loved it. He said, we live with those we can't live without to teach them how to live without us.
Whoo! All right.
I was like, man, that is strong, man.
That is strong.
And this one, man, is one that I've heard as well that I really love. It says, unforgiveness is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. And so I don't want to harbor any unforgiveness, meaning that I got to be able to name that wound. So, because some of the wounds that we have is just unforgiveness that we have carried and harbored against people for years that have now become almost like bondage.
Right.
Unforgiveness is a bondage thing. And so those are just two, man, that I've gotten in the past 2 weeks that have really hit home for me that I really appreciate and like.
I love it. So you see it and you keep it.
Brother.
I do the same thing.
I store, man. Yeah. I just have it in my notes. It's just titled quotes. And I just got to go back and look through some things and check them out from time to time.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
I love you, man. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Bolt Podcast. I appreciate you spending some time with us today, and it's been a pleasure being part of your journey toward growth, transformation, and leadership. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and leave a review. It truly helps us reach more people like you. Interested in taking your leadership to the next level? Visit toddbirch.com to learn more about my keynote speaking, corporate training programs, and my positive intelligence coaching. Look, I'm here to help you build the mental resilience and leadership skills that drive lasting change. And remember, progress comes from small, consistent steps. Keep moving forward, my friends. And before we wrap, a quick reminder that the information shared on the Bolt Podcast, along with anything from toddbirch.com or all my social media channels, is for informational and educational purposes only. We all need support, and if you're seeking meaningful guidance, one of the best things you can do is talk to a licensed professional, whether that's a physician, therapist, or coach. Hey guys, take care of yourself, stay kind to your mind, and remember, help is always available when you need it. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.